The echoes of worn boots on creaking porch steps marked Alex Morgan's childhood. Her father's silhouette, the broad shoulders, the clipped stride, the stoic gaze, became the shape of heroism. Sergeant Major Thomas Morgan was a decorated Army Ranger, his tales woven with grit and honor. For Alex, every story became a lesson, every return glance a challenge to rise, to match, to exceed. Before she could read, she learned silence, listening for coded whistles in the woods, tracking his trail as if he were a phantom. Rain or shine, she ran alongside him, breath ragged, heart pounding, a miniature shadow, a fire chasing its source. At 10, she was field stripping weapons, memorizing escape routes. At 15, she beat grown men in endurance trials at the Fort Benning Family Day, her father's face impassive yet eyes gleaming with hidden pride. But their bond held secrets. Thomas Morgan wore the scars of Somalia, Afghanistan, and covert operations that never made it to the news. Alex learned to read between the lines of silence, the heaviness in his gestures, the steel in his voice when duty called. She absorbed it all, forging herself into relentless resolve. In high school, she shattered track records, joined JROTC, aced every leadership test. Friends whispered about her discipline. Like a machine, they said. Inside, Alex was yearning, burning, hungry to become not just her father's equal, but his better. She applied for West Point, crushed selection, and then, against all odds, graduated with honors. Now assigned to a joint special operations task force, Alex was more than prepared. She was a weapon honed to razor precision, unassuming, steely, and unbreakable. Her teammates, Navy SEALs, Air Force PJs, and Army Rangers, quickly learned to trust her instincts, for her mind ran on the edge of chaos and order. Yet one thing remained. Her father was unaware of just how far she had come. Tonight, a code red alert shattered Alexandria's routine. A bus carrying 30 civilians was taken hostage by a violent cartel on the border. The situation was dire, the adversaries ruthless, and the authorities outmatched. Alex's team would insert at dawn, but beneath her calm exterior, ancient instincts flared. The stakes raised an old question. What would her father do? The hangar hummed with nervous energy. Boots, whispered jokes, murmured prayers. Alex stood amongst her team. Mickey Torres, a Navy SEAL with a razor-sharp wit. Sophia Snipe Granger, Air Force PJ, relentless under fire. And Jake Finn, a fellow Army Ranger whose loyalty ran as deep as scars collected in tours pass. Each held their own demons. Each knew the gravity of what lay ahead. Colonel Ramirez briefed them with crisp efficiency. The cartel's demands are relentless. Release their leader, or they'll execute hostages by sunrise. An image flickered. Terrified faces pressed to windows, masked men brandishing weapons. The local SWAT hit a dead end. Their informant is inside, compromised. Rules. Civilians come first. Collateral isn't an option. We go silent, surgical. Alex's mind churned. Entry options. Exfil routes. Sophia nudged her, eyes darting. You ever get used to the pre-op jitters? Alex returned the smallest smile.
You don't. You channel it.
Mickey grinned, slapping his chest plate. Tonight, we steal thunder. Gear checks began. Comms encrypted, weapons loaded, TAC maps folded. Alex reviewed her plans, running variables, crossfires, choke points, likely ambush zones. She noticed Jake staring at her, uncertainty shadowing his features. You all right? He nodded slowly, voice low. You remind me of something solid, like Morgan Sr. Alex stiffened, recalling her father's code. Never reveal, always protect. She offered no answer, only determination. Dawn approached. The helicopter blades roared, slicing the silence. They boarded, eyes scanning the horizon. Inside, tension thickened. Mickey blew into his gloves. Sophia traced a St. Michael's medallion. Jake flexed his jaw. As they neared the drop zone, a sudden storm brewed on the border. Lightning split the sky. Turbulence shook the craft, and risk escalated. The insertion would be rough. Alex weighed everything. If anything went wrong, it would be her call. The burden felt like gravity. Colonel Ramirez's voice crackled over comms. Green light in 1 minute. Go time. Alex inhaled, feeling the moment crystallize, a razor's edge between life and death. She glanced at her father's dog tags, hidden beneath her armor, and whispered a promise. Honor above all. The helo dipped, low and fast, beneath the storm's wrath. Night vision goggles painted the world green, rain-lashed, howling, chaotic. Alex signaled, stack up, and the team repelled into darkness, boots sinking into mud. They moved with predatory silence, splitting into pairs. Alex and Jake took the eastern flank. Sophia and Mickey circled west. Thermal scans confirmed 30 hostages crammed in 2 buses. Cartel gunmen patrolling tight perimeters with automatic rifles. Alex's nerves vibed with adrenaline. Rain slicked her gloves, vision blurred, the perfect cover for stealth, yet risk for disaster. She led Jake through thorn bushes, crawling to recon points. Over comms, Sophia whispered. Entry point, rear service door, 2 guards, fast and silent? Alex replied, affirmative, snipe, cover our entry. Mickey, slice the comm lines, no calls in or out. Jake pressed close. You expect traps? Always, Alex murmured, scanning for booby traps. A tripwire by the tire, crew pressure bombs rigged at the front. Disarm it, move. Jake's hands were deft, learned from years in Al-Basra and Kandahar. Tension rose, a sudden shout from inside, a hostage crying. Alex triggered smoke grenades, masked their silhouettes. In seconds, her team punched through the back door, weapons raised. Inside, chaos ruled, masked men dragging a boy by the arm, screaming threats. Alex's voice boomed, presence undeniable. Drop your weapons, U.S. military, stand down! Bullets erupted, compressed violence in close quarters. Sophia from the outside sniped 2 guards, precision surgical. Alex ducked, fired, advanced, her mind running on instinct. Shouts, ricochets, glass breaking. The hostages cowered, the gunmen scrambled. Alex sprinted to the boy, yanking him into cover. A masked man lunged, knife raised. Alex parried, disarmed, took him down with a chokehold. Jake cleared the second bus, firing methodically. Sophia called, 30 seconds till cartel reinforcements, East Road, move. Alex counted heads, her voice crisp. Every civilian, exit now. She hustled the group, shielded by Mickey and Jake, sprinting through rain-soaked field toward the exfil pickup as the cartel erupted behind them. But one girl was missing. Alex's mind snapped to a new hook. She ran back, heart hammering. Kid's not here. Find her.
Lightning split the sky as gunfire intensified. Alex kicked down the side door of the second bus, searching desperately. A little girl, trembling, huddled beneath a seat, pale, eyes wide, clutching a battered teddy bear. Alex knelt, lowering her weapon. I've got you, sweetheart. My name's Alex. I'm here to help. The girl refused to move, paralyzed by terror. Bullets punched into steel nearby. Alex shielded the child, urgency in her voice. We need to go now. I won't let anything happen to you. Outside, Mickey's voice crackled. Cartel vehicles inbound. ETA 2 minutes. Alex scooped the girl up, weaving through chaos as cartel reinforcements crashed the perimeter. Sophia and Jake covered their retreat, suppressing fire echoing in the storm. Hostages scrambled, stumbling through mud. The closest cartel goon burst into the bus, weapon raised. Alex swiveled, crisp, decisive. 3 rounds neutralized, but a second man grabbed her arm, rage in his eyes. Alex's knee struck his ribs, slammed him into seats, wrenched free, child tucked under her free arm. They bolted, bullets slapping the ground. Exfil chopper loomed, rotors beating, wild wind. Mickey flagged her. Move! Alex sprinted, legs burning, mind locked on survival. The floodlights of Border Patrol flashed in the distance. Aid or new threat. As the last civilian scrambled aboard the chopper, the cartel unleashed an RPG, clipping the tail. Jake, his reflexes honed by years of war, spun Sophia and 2 hostages into a ditch, shielding them. Glass exploded, sirens wailed, a bloody storm. Alex thrust the girl into Sophia's arms and turned, discovering cartel enforcers flanking from both sides. They outnumbered her, faces masked, weapons trained, intent clear. She drew herself up, resolved. If she faltered, dozens would die. She remembered her father's maxim, courage is found at the crossroads of fear and duty. Alex threw a smoke grenade, charged, firing, moving, every motion a ballet with death. She'd save everyone, even if it cost her everything. The scene morphed into chaos, hostages screaming, gunfire splitting the air, smoke rolling like spectral waves. Alex vaulted a crumpled fence, bullets tearing past, pain lancing as shrapnel grazed her thigh. Blood welled, heat surging. She bit down agony, adrenaline overriding. Sophia, Mickey, and Jake formed a perimeter, firing, buying precious seconds. Alex staggered, her world narrowed to flashes of violence and the desperate grip of the child in her arms. Cartel fighters pressed harder, echoing threats in rapid-fire Spanish. The team was pinned, exfil route blocked. Alex locked eyes with Mickey, who mouthed, "You got this!" She thrust the child behind her, dropped low, swapping magazines while Jake hurled flashbangs to blind the attackers. Alex's radio hissed. Border Patrol incoming, but unclear if friend or foe. The decision cut like ice. Risk an unknown ally or fight alone? A cartel leader appeared, aiming at the hostages. Alex roared, her voice shaking the field. "You want someone? Come for me!" He fired. Alex spun, catching the round in her shoulder. Metal burned, vision blurred. She kept firing, her left arm limp, her right mechanical imprecision. Mickey dragged wounded hostages to the chopper. Sophia patched bleeding limbs under fire. Jake barked, "We're out of time! Alex, fall back!" Alex refused, crawling to shield another civilian. Another bullet glanced her calf. Sirens blared. Border Patrol finally surged onto the field, blue strobes slicing the night. Cartel gunmen panicked, scattering. Those left behind found only fury. Alex, battered but defiant, stood between innocence and death. She fired until ammo ran dry, until pain became silent. The hostages were aboard, the last child hugged close. The team boarded. Alex slumped, blood soaking her gear, life flickering. As the chopper banked to safety, the shadow of Thomas Morgan flickered in her mind. Did he know? Would he ever understand? Alex gazed at her battered team, the rescued lives, a cost paid in valor and blood. But as the chopper sped home, the world faded to black. The journey had only begun. The whir of helicopter blades faded as Alex lost consciousness, trapped in a strobing haze of pain and burning adrenaline. The whole world shrank to the rhythmic pulse in her shoulder and the distant echo of voices calling her name. For a brief moment, suspended between life and death, childhood memories surged up. Her father teaching her how to tie knots, adapt to the unexpected, fight through agony. She awoke in a military field hospital, the antiseptic sting tangible even above the muffled chaos. Commanders, medics, and shaken hostages moved through the corridors. Her breath hitched as pain radiated down her side. She instinctively reached for her sidearm beneath the blanket, only to feel the thick dressing swaddling her wounds. Sophia's warm hand closed around hers. "Welcome back, hero." Alex tried to sit up, gritting her teeth. The medics advised against it, but she waved them off, her stubbornness unyielding. Jake arrived, eyes ringed with exhaustion. "You stubborn idiot, you made it. Word's already spreading. 30 civilians alive because of you." Mickey appeared at the foot of the bed, cocky as ever. "You saved the bus, won the firefight, and still look better than me in scrubs. Classic Morgan." Alex smiled through the pain. She took a quiet moment to study her team. The dirt and blood still caked on their faces, the silent bond not just of survival, but of shared sacrifice. Each of them owed each other their lives. But not all wounds bled. Colonel Ramirez entered, face drawn. "CIA and state want you debriefed. You and your squad bought time for a global takedown operation. Washington is listening, Morgan, and your cartel friends want you dead." Alex's thoughts grew heavy. Faces of terrified hostages and the little girl's broken teddy bear hovered at the edges of her mind. Heroism, she realized, was paid in quiet moments of pain and memory. Every valorous act bore a price. Outside, rain battered the canvas roof. Alex's gaze drifted skyward, wondering if her father, by now retired and living a quiet life, had watched the news. Or if he'd recognized what she had become. Alex's recovery progressed at a glacial pace. Between physical therapy, she was grilled by intelligence officers, probing every action, question, and second during the mission. Each debrief was more like an interrogation. She didn't reveal that her instincts owed everything to Thomas Morgan. She kept her legacy locked away, determined to be judged on her own merits, not her father's shadow. But whispers spread through the base. She fought like she had Ranger blood. Like Morgan Sr. on his best day. After each round of questions, she found herself staring in the mirror, haunted by a mixture of pride and doubt. Between grillings, she called her mother, careful never to mention details of the op, but her mother's voice betrayed pride and something like worry. "Your father's been restless, Al, watching TV more than usual. I think he's piecing it together." In those long nights, pain and insomnia gnawed at her. Mickey and Sophia tried to buoy her. Poker games, war stories, dark humor to blunt the edge. Jake would sit in silence, sometimes sharing a beer, both aware that not every wound could be stitched shut. Then came the twist. In the shadows of the base, a contractor pressed a note into her hand. Scrawled in code, a Ranger Field cipher, were the words, "He's here. You're being watched. Don't let your guard down." Paranoia crept in. Was it cartel assassins? Did someone know her father had trained her? Uneasy, Alex redoubled her vigilance. Each new face in the hallway was a threat. Every darkened corner held dangers. Valor, she now understood, was equal parts courage and vigilance. Days later, a figure appeared at the edge of her barracks periphery. Broad-shouldered, ramrod straight, the unmistakable gait of a man forged by decades of discipline. Sergeant Major Thomas Morgan. Alex gripped her crutch and braced herself. Their eyes met, his filled with disbelief, hers defiant. For a long moment, neither spoke. The weight of years lay between them. Finally, Thomas broke the silence. His voice was low, half pride, half exasperation. "You always did have a stubborn streak, but this is something else." Alex struggled to maintain composure. "Didn't think you'd come." Her father frowned, the lines in his face deepening. "How could I not? My daughter out there, front page hero, and no one told me." "I wasn't looking for headlines, just doing my job," Alex replied, jaw clenched. The two fragile egos circled for a moment, unsure how to bridge combat and kinship. Thomas's gaze softened slightly. "You saved all those people, Alex, but you almost died. That's the part I can't accept." She met his stare. "That's the job, Dad. That's what you taught me." He sat on the edge of her bed, unexpectedly vulnerable. "You surpassed everything I ever hoped for you, but I never wanted you to carry my ghosts." Alex fought tears. "They're my ghosts now." Silence stretched. Then Thomas, rarely given to sentiment, placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. "You're the best of us, Alex, and it terrifies me." Outside, the world moved on, but in that room, an old wound began to heal. No sooner had healing begun than a new threat emerged. Intelligence intercepted cartel chatter. La Americana, their code name for Alex, was marked for death. Kill teams were rumored to be crossing the border, targeting her and the rescued hostages. Security around the base tightened. Jake and Mickey took turns watching her door, trading dark jokes about Secret Service tryouts. Sophia stuck close, pretending it was all about getting Alex to physical therapy on time. But trouble found them. One night, alarms blared. Gunfire crackled outside. Shadows darted between vehicles, masked gunmen, bold enough to assault a military base. Alex, still on crutches, dragged herself into body armor. "We hold them here. No hostages die on my watch. Not again." Jake handed her a sidearm. "You shouldn't." "I will," she snapped. With her team, she made her way through corridors, guiding wounded personnel and terrified civilians to safety. Thomas, now a civilian on base for her, arm-tackled a gunman in the med wing, his muscle memory undiminished. Outside, chaos bloomed, spotlights, sirens, wild bursts of gunfire. Mickey went down, shrapnel to the arm, but still covered their retreat. Sophia provided medical aid where she could, bloodied yet unyielding. At the evacuation point, a cartel enforcer cornered two of the rescued kids from the bus. "Drop it!" Alex, leaning heavily on her good leg, drew down, voice steady. "You want anyone, you take me instead." The gunman, sneering, fired. Alex returned fire, dropping him, but another round sliced her calf, sending her crashing to the ground. Thomas, enraged, covered her with his own body, fending off the last attacker with old Ranger tactics. The base held, but barely. Sirens faded. The world shrank to blood on concrete, ragged breaths, and the realization that no place was truly safe. The breaking dawn revealed a battered base. Medics rushed the wounded, Alex foremost among them, blood pooling beneath her as Thomas clung to her hand. Alerted by the gravity of the attack, the Pentagon ordered a full lockdown. Journalists swarmed gates. The story had gone national. Doctors worked through the morning, stabilizing Alex, yet her injuries were serious, fractured bones, torn muscle. Still, news filtered in. Not a single hostage or civilian was lost. The president himself called. She'd walk again, but months of rehab loomed. "You and your team did the impossible, Captain Morgan. The nation owes you a debt." In the press, speculation swirled. Who was the mysterious Ranger's daughter? Thomas, stoic but secretly proud, remained at Alex's bedside. The wounds forced father and daughter to talk about war, sacrifice, what comes next. "You can't keep running into fire, Alex," Thomas said softly. She squeezed his hand. "Neither could you, Dad." In her darkest hour, Alex remembered every lesson her father gave her, every bit of strength she inherited, every sacrifice that bound them. The aftershocks of violence still rattled them both, but the Morgan legacy, one of selfless courage, endured.
And for the first time, Alex allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she hadn't just followed in her father's footsteps. She'd blazed a new trail entirely. Medal ceremonies had always seemed distant and abstract to Alex, formalities reserved for others, for legends immortalized in marble and memory. Now, as she adjusted the dress uniform cuff around her injured leg, she found herself at the center of sweeping attention. The National Guard secured every inch of the hospital. Reporters camped beyond barricades, shouting questions Alex would never answer. Her team stood with her. Mickey, with his arm in a sling. Jake, battered but upright. Sophia, no trace of fear in her steady hands. Her father donned his best civilian suit, but wore an unmistakable Ranger demeanor. Aides whisked Alex through corridors. The roar of a waiting crowd pressed through the thick walls. Outside, flags flew at half-mast for fallen defenders. Inside, the survivors prepared for recognition. A secret burden weighed on her. She longed for quiet, for the ability to vanish. Instead, she was ushered to the main stage, facing rows of generals, dignitaries, and, at the center, the President of the United States. A hush descended. The President stepped to the podium, his voice resonant. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else is more important. Today, we recognize Captain Alexandria Morgan, not only for her valor, but for the legacy she embodies. She has given more than duty requires, saved innocence and weathered wounds, both seen and unseen. He beckoned Alex forward, and as she did, the cameras flashed, millions watching across the nation, wondering who this indomitable woman truly was. As the medal was pinned, Alex's senses narrowed. She heard nothing but the president's words and the rush of her own heartbeat. This was no ordinary commendation. It was the Medal of Honor, the highest recognition of heroism granted under fire. The president looked her in the eye. You stood between death and 30 innocents. You acted when it would have been easier to hide, and you were willing to pay the highest price. Your courage is a beacon. Applause thundered, but Alex struggled to process it. She glanced out, her team, battered yet beaming, her father standing at salute, eyes wet, some rescued hostages clutching families and mouthing thanks from the audience. For the first time, she let the magnitude of her actions settle. The room seemed to shimmer with something greater than pride, a dawning acceptance that she had finally stepped into her own legend. Reporters buzzed as she exited the stage, crutch under one arm, metal gleaming at her chest. Someone asked, "What was going through your mind in the firefight?" She answered honestly, "The faces of the people I was protecting. That was all that mattered." Behind the scenes, Thomas Morgan broke protocol and embraced her fiercely. "You're everything I ever hoped, and so much more." She leaned on his shoulder, the press of duty and danger, finally lightening for just one breath. The aftermath of recognition was more difficult than Alex expected. Everywhere she went, men and women in uniform would salute her. Strangers reached out to shake her hand, call her a hero. Yet the physical pain was joined by a bewildering emotional maelstrom. She woke most nights clawing at phantoms, shouting warnings, reliving the chaos, feeling bullets ripple through her flesh. Her team stuck close, refusing to let her slip into the isolation that so often swallowed wounded warriors. Jake insisted on nightly check-ins. Mickey joked that he was recruiting her for the Disabled Olympics. Sophia, ever steady, helped guide Alex through excruciating physical therapy. Thomas, ever the hard-edged ranger, showed his love the only way he knew, sitting at her bedside during rough nights, sharing old stories, sometimes just holding her hand in silence. Yet even in pain, Alex strove for healing not only for herself, but for those around her. She took phone calls from fellow survivors, offered comfort, counseled others struggling with guilt for having lived. The little girl she rescued, Ella, sent her a card titled in rainbow letters, "Thank you for being my hero." Alex posted it above her bed, believing, perhaps for the first time, that bravery left more than scars. It could heal too. Months passed, each day grinding Alex toward recovery. Her body mended slowly. The crutches faded to a cane, then to nothing but a slight limp, a permanent badge of survival. The Army offered her any post. She could teach, move to intelligence, or accept medical retirement. Her father urged her to choose peace. But Alex found purpose beyond the gun and uniform. She volunteered at VA hospitals, spoke before Congress about veteran care, and mentored young women eyeing special operations. As whispers grew of her legend status, she ignored them, focusing instead on the people she could still help. Her team adjusted too. Mickey transferred to instructor duty, teaching rookies how to think and fight unconventionally. Sophia returned to combat rescue, hungrier than ever to pull others out of danger. Jake left the Army, using his GI Bill to study psychology, drawing on his battlefield wounds to mend minds as well as bodies. Alex's relationship with Thomas changed. He stopped seeing her as his little girl and began to understand her as a peer. Another soldier battered by the world, yet refusing to surrender. They moved past the old tension into mutual respect, haunted and healed by shared experience. One autumn morning, Alex returned to her hometown to little fanfare. There was no grand parade, only neighbors quietly leaving flowers or thank you notes on her porch. She spent long hours with her mother, walking by the river, talking about anything but war. She noticed local kids played more safely in the park now, thanks to the lessons their parents passed down. The importance of vigilance, of courage, of helping those in need. She was asked to keynote a local high school assembly. Standing before the students, the Medal of Honor tucked discreetly in her pocket, Alex spoke not of deadly firefights, but of the choices that made her who she was. "Every hard thing in your life will prepare you for something even harder," she told them. "The courage you need may not look like mine. It could be standing up for what's right when everyone else walks away. But never doubt that you can make a difference just by refusing to let fear guide you." Afterward, teachers and parents thanked her, some with tears in their eyes. Alex realized that heroism didn't always burst forth in a blaze of bullets. Sometimes it echoed in the quiet resilience of those around her, the lives she touched simply by standing tall, scars and all. Winter arrived, settling over the hills of Alex's home with a quiet, relentless chill. In the silence away from base and battlefield, she had time to reflect. The echoes of gunfire and chaos softened, but some nights they roared back through dreams, vivid, suffocating. She knew her wounds ran deeper than flesh. Seeking healing, she joined a support group for veterans with invisible scars. For the first time, Alex spoke openly about fear. Not just in the heat of battle, but the quieter terror of failing the people who depended on her. Her courage became not just about heroics, but about honesty. The group, full of battle-hardened men and women from every branch, welcomed her like a sister. "You walk point for us," an old Marine told her after a meeting. In their shared laughter, tears, and survival, Alex found new strength. Her father, too, sought to shed the armor he'd worn for decades. Together, they worked on a battered Jeep in Alex's garage, sharing moments of peace that once eluded them. Most afternoons ended with deep talks about their pain, about sacrifice, about what it meant to be more than just soldiers. Though the city still buzzed with tales of her exploits, Alex let herself become small again. A daughter, a friend, a person finding balance on unfamiliar ground. As the months trickled by, threats seemed to fade into memory. Yet darkness crept back with sudden intensity. Federal agents arrived at Alex's door one icy morning, grim-faced and tense. "The cartel never forgets," said an FBI liaison. "We've intercepted chatter. They know you're still alive, and they haven't given up. There are bounties, Morgan, high ones. You're not just a symbol of resistance to them. You're unfinished business." She bristled at the threat, but her old instincts kicked in. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Lay low," the agent advised. "Relocate if needed. We're expanding protection for you and your family." Alex refused to run. "They tried to break me before. I won't let fear push me out of my home." Her father insisted on visiting more often, sometimes staying over with his shotgun on the couch, and the local police stepped up patrols. Her life became a game of vigilance once more, her routine dotted with men scanning corners, checking for suspicious cars. But Alex would not be cowed. Instead, she reached out to other threatened veterans and families, advocating for increased support and resources. True valor, she decided, wasn't in surviving bullets. It was in choosing to live boldly, no matter how many shadows sought her. With the threat ongoing and a restless drive growing in her, Alex searched for new purpose. She worked closely with Congress, pushing for reforms in how the nation protected not only active soldiers, but those who came home wounded, body and soul. Publicly, she used her platform to call out corruption and complacency. At veteran events, she hugged the widows and the wounded, telling them, "You're not alone. We're a family, one that never leaves anyone behind." Legislation bearing her name moved through committees, funding for advanced trauma support, security for threatened service families, education for children orphaned by war. Privately, Alex also wrote essays, letters, a book that blended her story with the voices of others she'd served beside. It became a bestseller, not just for the drama, but for its honesty, its hope. Her friendships with her team endured. Mickey's pranks brightened her darkest days. Sophia's unwavering compassion kept her steady. Jake, now a counselor, sent regular texts. "Need you at my group's next seminar, Captain. No one tells the truth like you." Alex accepted, knowing her struggles could help others find light. Her own life had shifted from battlefields to legislative halls, trauma wards, and counseling centers. Yet every new mission beat with the old rhythm: service, sacrifice, and the unbreakable will to keep fighting, whatever the front. Word reached Alex of a Ranger reunion at Fort Benning, the place where her journey began. She hesitated, haunted by memories, by those lost, and by the ever-looming pressures of expectation. In the end, she went, limping slightly but head held high. The base was alive with laughter, hard handshakes, and the heavy silence reserved for remembrance. Alex felt Thomas's presence at her side, his pride plain for all to see. She reconnected with instructors who remembered her as the kid who ran with the flies. New recruits eyed her with awe. A quiet memorial honored the fallen. Alex knelt, tracing names she recognized, tears slipping free. Jake joined her, silent, then whispered, "They'd be damn proud of you. Of us." Later that night at the campfire, stories echoed across generations. Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, each tale painted with gallows humor, silent grief, and impossible acts of courage. Alex shared her story, not of medals or celebrity, but of pain, fear, and the healing that comes from enduring. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe she belonged, not just in the shadow of her father,
but as a peer among warriors, men and women who understood the cost of valor. Spring returned, melting the last of winter's scars. For Alex, the world felt reborn, lighter. She walked without cane or crutch, her stride marked but unbowed. The Medal of Honor rested in a plain case on her shelf, beneath photos of her team and the civilians she had saved. Her life was not perfect. Pain lingered, nightmares sometimes clawed their way back. Yet with every tough morning and uncertain future, she stood firm, grounded by a hard-won peace. On Memorial Day, Alex was the guest of honor at Arlington, her father at her side. The president spoke of her deeds, but it was the look on her father's face that mattered most. A vulnerable, open pride. After the ceremony, a young girl pressed a note into her hand. "I want to be like you," it read. Alex knelt, meeting the girl's eyes. "You can be," she promised. "We all have to be brave, in our own way." As a late afternoon sun set behind the white headstones, Alex stood among heroes past and present. She closed her eyes, hearing the echoes of valor. Not just her own, but every soul who'd ever chosen sacrifice over safety. Whatever the future held, she'd face it standing tall.